In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He impregnates Mother Nature with children, living entities, and thereafter all species of living entities become manifest. The relationship of all living entities with material nature has been explained. Now, an understanding of the relationship between material nature and the Supreme Lord is sought by Devahuti. The product of that relationship is stated to be the manifest and unmanifest material world. The unmanifest material world is a subtle Mahatattva, and from that Mahatattva, the material manifestation has emerged. In the Vedic literatures, it is said that by the glance of the Supreme Lord, the total material energy is impregnated, and then everything is born of material nature. It is also confirmed in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that his glance, Adhyakshena, under his direction, and by his will, nature is working. It is not that nature works blindly. After understanding the position of the conditioned souls in relation to material nature, Devahuti wanted to know how nature works under the direction of the Lord and what the relationship is between the material nature and the Lord. In other words, she wanted to learn the characteristics of the Supreme Lord in relation to the material nature. The relationship of the living entities with matter and that of the Supreme Lord with matter are certainly not on the same level, although the Mayavadis may interpret it in that way. When it is said that the living entities are bewildered, the Mayavadi philosophers ascribe this bewilderment to the Supreme Lord. But that is not applicable. The Lord is never bewildered. That is the difference between personalists and impersonalists. Devahuti is not unintelligent. She has enough intelligence to understand that the living entities are not on the level of the Supreme Lord. Because the living entities are infinitesimal, they become bewildered or conditioned by material nature. But this does not mean that the Supreme Lord is also conditioned or bewildered. The difference between the conditioned soul and the Lord is that the Lord is the Lord, the master of material nature, and he is therefore not subject to its control. He is controlled neither by spiritual nature nor by material nature. He is a supreme controller himself, and he cannot be compared to the ordinary living entities who are controlled by laws of material nature. Two words are used in this verse are Sat and Asat. The cosmic manifestation is Asat, it does not exist. But the material energy of the Supreme Lord is Sat or ever existing. Material nature is ever existing in its subtle form as the energy of the Lord, but it sometimes manifests this non-existent or temporary existent nature, the cosmos. An analogy may be made with the father and the mother. The mother and the father exist, but sometimes the mother begets children. Similarly, this cosmic manifestation, which comes from the unmanifest nature of the Supreme Lord, sometimes appears and again disappears. But the material nature is ever existing, and the Lord is the supreme cause for both the subtle and gross manifestations of this material world. Again, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So, I beg the blessings of all the devotees. Of course, I was not scheduled to speak, so please forgive me for speaking today. It's unfortunate, but so very grateful to all the devotees, Grace Prabhu, for tolerating me in all respects. So, what is very important, just before connecting to the verse, what is very, very important is one's consciousness. So we can connect with this verse in our daily life practically, that here it is said that from subtle, the gross manifestation or the gross creation, the gross world, from the subtle world, the gross world manifests. So that's why it is said that thinking, feeling, willing, and then doing. So in the same way, according to the subtle nature, the subtle Mahatattva, the material gross manifestation manifests. So in the same way, according to one's thinking, feeling, and willing, according to one's consciousness, one may be on Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. According to the consciousness, accordingly, the gross manifestation happens. So that's why one's consciousness is very, very important. Very, very important. So how does one maintain one's consciousness? Um, the way one maintains one's consciousness is by, as Krishna tells to Arjuna. What does Krishna tell Arjuna Bhagavad Gita? Krishna tells Arjuna that to do one's duty imperfectly is better than doing another's duty perfectly. Again, to do one's duty imperfectly is better than doing others' duty perfectly. So by carrying out one's own individual devotional service, one's activities, one's duties according to one's qualification and according to the instruction of the authorities, one can maintain or improve one's consciousness. So I'll come back to this point. I just didn't want to lose this, so I just said this in the beginning of the class. So here Devahuti is inquiring about the position of the conditioned souls, the position of the conditioned souls, and how this whole cosmic manifestation works, and what is the relationship between the material nature and the Lord. So Prabhupada says in the purport that the relationship between the living entities and matter and the Supreme Lord and matter are different. So what is the difference? It's very important to understand. Just before starting this explanation, just to give a very honest, frank, very honest and frank understanding. Srila Radha Govind Maharaj says that whatever is created in this world is created by Maya, and whatever instruments we have to enjoy those things which are created are also given by Maya. So both are Maya. So if Maya is enjoying Maya, where are we? Right? That's the honest, that's the real picture. So now we are infinitesimal. But Krishna says one thing very important. Jiva bhuto mahabaho jayedam dharati jagat. That matter is inferior to living entities. This material nature, this matter, what we can see in this world, which are inert, objects which are inert, they are actually inferior to us, including this material body. This body is inferior to the spirit, to the soul. So we are superior to matter according to common sense. And of course, the Supreme Lord is the ultimate Purusha Uttama. He is the Purusha, he is the supreme enjoyer, he is the proprietor, and he is a maintainer. And at the same time, is Uttama. He is the greatest person, the supreme person. And not only he is the supreme person, but his personality is also supreme. That's why Krishna is called the supreme personality of Godhead. Personality means that in his person is situated all the qualities. The greatest range of quality is situated within the heart of Krishna. That's why Krishna Vrindavan is the most complete form of the Lord. And not only isn't he the supreme form, the supreme manifestation of the Lord, but at the same time, in Vrindavan, Krishna, to add to that personality, to add to that flavor, Krishna, under the influence of his own spiritual energy, he forgets divine in the divine realm. He forgets due to divinity. that he is the Supreme Lord. So that makes his position all the more sweeter. So coming back to the point, so we are superior, our position is superior to matter. So Supreme Lord, who is beyond this material world, who is beyond the senses, Adokshaja, he is Atmarama, he is fully self-satisfied. And the only thing he relishes is he relishes loving relationship with the devotees in the spiritual realm. So that's his constant happiness. And since he is on the platform of Anandamaya, so he enjoys on that platform. He interacts with living entities on the platform of Anandamaya. So what to speak of matter, which is billion times below that? So it is said that Krishna intervenes in this material world not directly, but through his energies. Or sorry, intervention is the wrong word. Krishna controls this material world through his energies, but Krishna himself does not directly play any part. Krishna's only function is to enjoy loving pastimes with his dear devotees. Like even it is Srila Prabhupada explains very clearly that when Krishna is killing the demons, then actually Krishna is not killing, but the Vishnu aspect of Krishna is killing the demons. That's why you can see, like when Krishna is dancing on the head of Kaliya, or when Krishna is killing Pralambas, Krishna is killing any demon. Krishna is killing any demon in Vrindavan. Krishna is smiling. Krishna is so happy. Why? Because Krishna is not concerned with these kind of activities. Krishna just wants to have loving pastimes with his devotees. So Krishna is beyond. But living entities, those who have material bodies, conditioned souls, they have, because they are superior, we are superior to matter. So naturally, when we look towards matter, we want to enjoy. It's natural, because it's natural for a superior person to want to control or enjoy an inferior person. It's very natural. It's very natural thing. So the relationship between us and matter is that when we are on the conditioned state, when we are in the impure conditioned state, there is a natural tendency to want to enjoy matter. And the relationship between Krishna and Maya is that Krishna is the controller of Maya. Maya, Srila Prabhupada says, is Krishna's inferior energy. And superior energy is Daivi Prakriti, is actually headed by Srimati Radharani. So that is Krishna's position. Our position is like this. So that's why unless we connect with Krishna, unless we give ourselves the chance for some higher enjoyment, we cannot overcome this propensity. So when we come across Maya, or when we come across matter, the tendency is to enjoy. But when we expose ourselves to Krishna or Krishna's pure devotees, then the natural position is that we become subservient to them. That's natural. Because we are conditioned, and the pure devotees and the Lord, they're liberated. So naturally, the tendency is to surrender. So either we enjoy matter, either we expose. If we expose, it's just a matter of exposing. Wherever we expose ourselves, accordingly we get the reaction. So if we expose ourselves to Maya in the form of watching unwanted things, speaking unwanted things, etc., then naturally, as conditioned souls, already the tendency is there to become attracted. So definitely we will become attracted. But when we expose ourselves to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotees, then naturally the more and more we expose ourselves, then the tendency to surrender will increase. So coming back to the deeper aspect of this understanding, so uh, everything which is happening subtly manifests grossly. So where does conception begin? It begins with desire. Desire is the root of everything in this world. So by his Sripad Prabhu said, By desire we came in this material into this material world, and by desire we get out of this material world. So our goal is that we want to get out at least of this material consciousness, and we want to enter into spiritual consciousness. So in order to do that, what is very, very important is to take shelter of Krishna's divine nature. We cannot see Krishna, we cannot touch Krishna, we cannot speak with Krishna, but we can touch, we can speak with Krishna's devotees, uh, exalted Krishna's exalted devotees, Krishna's pure devotees. So that's our greatest good fortune. So how does one actually enter spiritual consciousness? Spiritual consciousness, if we observe our own mind, when do we get absorbed? We get absorbed when we forget ourselves. When we forget ourselves, when we forget about our enjoyment, our senses, then we can actually absorb ourselves in whatever activity, whatever service we are doing. So this root of absorption is actually to develop very deep humility. Deep humility. So humility is very, very important. Humility will only develop in relationship to devotees. When we take shelter of devotees, only then will real humility develop. So uh, that's why His Holiness Ranath Maharaj says, and Srila Prabhupada also says, and my spiritual master says, everyone says same thing, that the goal of spiritual life is ultimately to become the servant of the servant of the servant. That's the goal of spiritual life, is to develop that mood, to develop this desire to always recommend, promote, glorify others more and more and more. Because by giving respect to others is works both ways. When you give respect to others, the desire to receive respect decreases. And when your desire to give respect decreases, then naturally you give more respect to others. And what is the result of giving respect to others sincerely from the heart is when you give respect to others, then Krishna, who is situated in the heart as Paramatma or as a supreme person, Krishna realizes that this living entity wants to gratify my senses. He wants to serve me. That's why he is approaching my devotees with such a humble mood. So therefore, Krishna will fill your heart with spiritual happiness. Krishna will fill your heart with potency, with strength, with everything. So this is the sum and substance of Krishna consciousness. So when one develops this mood of being the servant of the servant of the servant, then one becomes empowered to experience Krishna consciousness, to experience taste in bhakti, to remember Krishna. So just for a reference, Shastri reference, Mahaprabhu told Raghunath Das Goswami, don't eat luxuriously, don't dress luxuriously, and give respect to others, and always chant the holy name of Krishna. So this giving respect to others is so important, that it's so powerful that just by this giving respect to others, one can chant constantly, and such kind of chanting can give rise to remembrance of the pastimes of Krishna. So this remembrance is the essence of Krishna consciousness. And if all of you may have realized that when does real remembrance happen? Real remembrance happens when one feels that intense desire to render loving service. So when the desire manifests, according to desire, the remembrance also manifests. So you see in pure devotees kirtan, the first thing which happens in your heart is you feel very good. You feel very good. And after you feel very good, then comes a remembrance. And when you can remember the Lord with such feeling, then comes the joy in Krishna consciousness. So in order to experience the joy, And once you experience that joy, then everything in this world is completely useless. One, you don't have to give the mind a reason to think about Krishna. You don't have to give the mind a reason to take a humble position, because you feel so good. You feel so good. So it all starts with this humble mode of giving respect to others, genuinely giving respect to others, glorifying others, wanting to promote others. More and more and more we develop this mood, then it is guaranteed that we will make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Because advancement in Krishna consciousness means to please Krishna and to please Krishna's pure devotees. So we all have to remember this point. I mean, speaking to myself, that bhakti is the cause of bhakti. Bhakti is to Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate. Bhakti is not the property of anything in this material world. Bhakti is a property of Krishna and his pure devotees. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to perform pure bhakti. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says in so many places, that pure bhakti can only be performed by someone uh, who is pure. But speaking for myself, I'm not pure. So how will I achieve bhakti? How will I perform bhakti? It looks impossible. Yeah. So the only way is that we have to borrow, we have to beg, we have to take loan from devotees. By constantly begging, taking mercy from devotees, then we can perform bhakti. By their causeless mercy, as their servant, we can perform bhakti. And by performing bhakti under their direction, under their blessings, then we actually receive this power to burn our bad karma. So this is our greatest wealth, is the pleasure of the devotees. And I was thinking to myself that uh, most fortunate person in this world, of course in Krishna consciousness, is someone whose heart can respond to every feeling of every devotee he interacts with. So it's not necessary that one has to serve everyone, but what pure devotees do, like we see, what pure devotees do, why are they pure devotees, is because they actually please everyone. So pleasing everyone does not mean to surrender to everyone. Pleasing everyone does not mean to serve everyone. But pleasing everyone means to respond to their every feeling. And so because they respond to their real Krishna conscious feeling, so that devotee becomes pleased. This devotee becomes pleased. That devotee becomes pleased. So in this way, they're always pleasing everyone. They're always pleasing everyone. Of course, although they are trying to please their spiritual master and in some cases their authority. I mean, if they have authority. Otherwise, if they are already very mature in Krishna consciousness, then like sannyasis, they are pure devotees. So they directly with Prabhupada and Krishna and etc. So this is the essence of Krishna consciousness, is to give respect to everyone. By giving respect to everyone, one comes to the mode of goodness, because one becomes humble. When you are humble, you come to the mode of goodness and you come to reality. So it's always very important to remember that there is no ecstasy in Krishna consciousness as the ecstasy of being insignificant. That's the greatest ecstasy. That's the greatest happiness of actually relishing the again, the ecstasy of insignificance is the greatest ecstasy in Krishna consciousness, the real ecstasy in Krishna consciousness. And that ecstasy, uh, there's nothing which compares to that, because in that consciousness of being happy to be humble, of being happy to be insignificant, in that position, then one can become absorbed. One can become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And when one becomes absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then naturally his remembrance will be strong, his feelings, his connection to the spiritual world will be strong, and as a result of that, he will get great strength in Krishna consciousness. So, this is the goal of our Krishna consciousness movement. And there are so many wonderful examples in the Vaishnava literature. The best example of this very humble mood is in the personality of Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, he used to offer uh, so many thousands of obeisances every day to Vaishnavas and the deities. And just think about it, like how much humble he was. I mean, how much humble he eternally is. And that's the reason why he's a Pravachanacharya. So when one is able to do this thing, to offer respect to others, and as a result of offering respect to others, when one becomes so happy and so he does not desire any respect in return, when he's in that particular consciousness, then he's actually able to remember the Lord. Because first of all, the Lord become very pleased with him. So it is said that unless Krishna thinks of us, we cannot think of Krishna. So when Krishna is happy with us, when Krishna is happy with our service to his pure devotees, then Krishna actually inspires us to think of him. And when Krishna inspires us to think of, when he gives the remembrance, then that remembrance is going to come with his feeling, with his love. And so that is the greatest treasure in Krishna consciousness. That's the goal of Krishna consciousness, to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So we always ask this question to pure devotees of the Lord, that how to remember Krishna, how to remember Krishna. And the answers they give, they are not so special answers. Like you see pure devotees, sannyasis, they do the same things we do. They don't do anything very different. They chant, they read, they serve, they do everything. But what is the difference? The difference is that because they're pleasing, constantly pleasing the devotees of the Lord, because they're always nurturing this cultivating this mood in the heart to be the servant of the servant. Therefore, all their activities are inspired by remembrance, and that remembrance is given to Krishna, I mean, to them by Krishna. So, this is some in substance of Krishna consciousness. And this is the only way one can actually experience happiness in Krishna consciousness. I am very fallen, not qualified, but this is my aspiration. This is what you can say, my realization, that in Krishna consciousness, the real place where the wealth is there is the pleasure of the devotees. So, why does Krishna give us the opportunity to preach? Why does Krishna give us the opportunity to lead or to manage, or etc.? Is to simply please devotees. And that's the same place everywhere. The same place everywhere. More and more we can take shelter of the devotees, the more and more we can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we take shelter of devotees, Krishna becomes merciful. And when we are going through difficulty in our spiritual life, then devotees, they give us so much strength, they give us so much inspiration and blessing. And sometimes devotees may neglect us, chastise us also. That is also very good for us, because when devotees neglect us or chastise us, then it actually cultivates the real mood of crying in the heart. So, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. But Iswalan Saladar Maharaj says this point, that when is one situated on Nishta? When can you actually be situated on Nishta platform? He said, when you're firmly convinced, not just convinced, but constantly you have realized this point, that the only hope for you is causeless mercy of Krishna. And you have no dependence. You're not depending on your sadhana, you're not depending on your seva, but you're depending on causeless mercy. You're executing your sadhana, but your ultimate shelter is causeless mercy. So if, unless you're situated on that platform, please, means that platform where there is no pride in the heart, only then can you actually be situated on mental nishta, because mental nishta means that you're always thinking of Krishna. always thinking of Krishna. You're never thinking of Maya. And only when you're always thinking of Krishna, by constant thinking, by constant absorption, only then will ruchi come. Only then taste will come. So, yeah, this is the goal. This is the goal. This is the goal. And that's why you see that all pure devotees, they do many things, they do many great things, no doubt. But where is their attachment? What are they attached to? They're attached to remembrance of the Lord. That is their attachment. This is a very high platform, but this is the goal. This is the goal. To be deeply attached to remembrance of the Lord, remembrance of the Lord's pastimes, more and more, to become absorbed in the Lord's pastimes. That's the goal of Krishna consciousness. So that is the place where all happiness, all ecstasy, all satisfaction lies. It does not lie in this world. Nobody in this world can satisfy us externally. I mean, to some extent, you can be satisfied. You get some respect, you get some name, fame, but ultimate satisfaction will come only by this thing. When you are able to always remember the Lord, that's the only happiness. That is a real happiness. So, last week I was speaking about that pastime spoken by Sachidanand Maharaj, a pastime in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, that one lady, she's a prostitute. She just saw some devotees, and somehow by the grace of the Lord, she developed a desire to serve those devotees. And by serving those devotees, by their mercy, she pleased Krishna to that extent that uh, the Lord personally appeared in the heart of his pujari and told his pujari that let her, not only she actually made a crown for the Lord. So the Lord said, I want her to come on the altar and put that crown on my head personally. So this unthinkable, I mean, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, how strict they are. I mean, forget about ladies. Even, Brahmanas, they're so strict, too strict. But the Lord actually just threw away all those rules and regulations and wanted to have a personal exchange with her. So this is the power of pleasing devotees. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langete grim yat kripatamam bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. So this is not an exaggeration. Many times we don't understand Guru Puja, that what ye prasade pure sarva asha hua. Just by his pleasure, everything we accomplished. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma. The lotus feet of spiritual master is the only way by which you can attain pure devotion service. Is it so easy or what? Darshane Pavitra Koro, E Tumara Gun. That by your glance you will purify. So these are not exaggerations. This is a true thing. This is a true thing. This is a reality. So when we serve and we have a desire to please the devotees, how much ever we can, to the extent we can, deep desire to please the devotees, then actually we experience their mercy. We experience the mercy of the parampara. So this is the secret to Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness does not mean that we have to make some extraneous, some special kind of endeavor, some special kind of sadhana. But no, it's something that is revealed in the heart, which is automatically revealed in the heart by the mercy of Krishna's pure devotees. So is this the secret of Krishna consciousness? The secret of Krishna consciousness is simply to please Krishna's devotees. And I never do that. So please bless me that I can do that and I can achieve mercy. And then when you achieve that mercy, yeah, then you get a real intelligence. Like we study in Shastra, this is spiritual intelligence, okay. But then when we please Krishna's devotees, then Krishna, Dadami Buddhiyogam Tam, that is the real intelligence. Like Krishna says, Jnana Deepena Bhashvata, that I destroy darkness by illuminating the heart. I myself illuminate the heart and destroy the darkness of ignorance. So when Krishna will illuminate the heart and destroy the darkness of ignorance by his own will, then we will get the real intelligence. real intelligence to see things as they are. Otherwise, Avaranatmika Shakti and Prakshepatmika Shakti of Maya, covering potency and throwing potency, is constantly acting. So even though we may read so many things, we see that at certain points in time, we forget Krishna. Why? Because the intelligence works in the opposite direction. Even though we are studying, even though we are hearing, why? Because Krishna is not giving us that remembrance. So I would like to end here. Please forgive me. I spoke anything wrong, inappropriate. I mean, humility. Humility. Or do you want to say something? Online, does anyone have any question or comment? Okay, we'll end here. Please forgive me for speaking anything wrong, inappropriate. Vanchakalpatarubhishya. Kripa sindhu bhavacha paitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo. Antakoti Vaishnavandi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.